Good evening, council, staff, members of the public. May I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Councillors Fisher and Moore at the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Springwater, November 19th, 2025, come to order at 6:41 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Please join me in the singing of O Canada. Thank you. Before we begin our meeting tonight, I'd just like to take a minute to acknowledge our fire and emergency services. On November 11th, we suffered a loss within the community. All those were safe, but we lost the home. It was extremely emotional as we were all gathered at the cenotaph at the same time, and this was a block from there. So we could hear the sirens and the footsteps and see the plume of black smoke. So I just wanted to take a moment again to thank our emergency services. Councillor, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? Not seeing any. May I have a mover and seconder to call the public meeting to order? Councillors Garwood and Alexander, that this public meeting of council held under section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP as amended for a zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2025-007 by L. Langman on behalf of Langcrass Farms, owners of the subject lands, be called to order at 6:44 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Welcome to this public meeting of Springwater Township Council held under Section 34 of the Planning Act to give the public an opportunity to express their views in regard to the proposed application. The first part of the meeting is to present the proposed application. Following, the public will be given an opportunity to make oral submissions through Zoom application or in person. Any person wishing to make an oral submission is to have notified the township prior to 8:30 a.m. this morning and been added to the commenter list. If a person or public body who files an appeal of the decision of the Township of Springwater with respect to the Planning Act application does not make oral submission at the planning meeting or written submission to the township before the proposed amendments have passed, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss all or part of the appeal. All questions and comments should be addressed through the chair. At this time, oral submissions will be included in the meeting minutes and form part of the public record, including the name and address of the speaker as information collected under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. The minutes of the meeting will be posted to the township website. ZB 2025-007 Langman 2185 County Road 92. I will now call upon the clerk to confirm notice of this meeting to which dates on the notice was given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 29th day of October 2025 to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 13 properties in the Township of Springwater within 240 meters of the area to which the proposed application would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at locations visible from County Road 92 and Crossland Road. Notice was also posted on the township's website.
Has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice?
Correspondence has been received from Enbridge Gas in an email dated November 4th, 2025, from the Severn Sound Environmental Association in an email received November 4th, 2025, and from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority in an email received on November 10th, 2025. All of the pieces of correspondence can be found on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. I will now call upon the planner to provide the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I think there's some slides that should show up. Okay, the subject lands are municipally known as 2185 County Road 92. Could I get the next slide, please? The applicant has applied for a zoning bylaw amendment to support a farm consolidation severance, which was conditionally approved on November 27th, 2024. Could I get the next slide? The rezoning will fulfill conditions of the severance as shown, the conditions 5, 6, and 7. The application is supported by policies of the provincial planning statement, the county official plan, as well as the township official plan. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Planner Ward. I will now call upon the moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to make questions or ask questions or make comments.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There have been no members of the public who have registered to make any comments or have any questions.
Are there any members, public or here this evening that would like to make a comment or question? Not seeing any. Are there any comments or questions from members of council? Not seeing any. Thank you to all that participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed ZB 2025-007 Langman 2185 County Road 92 application and for showing an interest in the matter. May I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the public meeting, please? I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Fisher. That this public meeting of council held under section 34 of the Planning Act, ZB 2025-007 Langman 2185 County Road 92 does now adjourn at 6:48 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you. May I have a mover and seconder for the direction following the public meeting? Councillor Moore and Councillor Garwood, that the report from the planner regarding ZB 2025-007 Langman to be received and that bylaw 5412 be presented to council for consideration and approval of the November 19th, 2025, subject to comments received during the public meeting. All those in favor? And that has carried. I will now call upon Shift Landscape Design for a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Mackenzie Fantini, and I'm with Shift Landscape Architecture, along with my colleague Michael Barker, and we're here to share with you the design plan for Homer Barrett Park and to take you through the project process. Next slide, please. On the agenda tonight, we'll look at the project timeline, the overall park site, public engagement, preliminary design concepts, the design plan, and planning for next steps. Next slide. We began our work with the township last December. Background and analysis work was conducted in preparation for the first engagement in March. We went back to the public in June with 2 preliminary concepts for discussions, leading to the development of the design plan, which we're presenting here tonight. Next slide. Looking at the park site, the park is just under 2.5 hectares in size. Its main attractions are the splash pad, playground, sport court, and winter ice rink, and the toboggan hill. There is an older wood pavilion and a smaller steel one at the splash pad in a gravel parking lot. There is limited seating and shade on site, and currently the only pathways are around the splash pad and the one connecting Shaw Street to Ritchie Crescent. The park sits on a high water table, known to be a typical condition of Elmville, and there are swales along the north and southwest property lines, which the park generally slopes towards. Next slide, please. The design plan project aimed to establish a long-term vision for the park that can guide design planning towards the objectives identified through this review. Project goals were established to set a foundation for the project, those being to develop a comprehensive design plan for the community and its evolving needs, foster a strong sense of place, plan for washroom facilities, design for stormwater management, and to prioritize nature. Next slide. The project included 2 rounds of community engagement held this past March and June. Each round gave residents a chance to share their ideas at key points in the design process. During the first engagement, we focused on raising awareness about the project and gathering initial feedback, ideas, and concerns from the community. Then in June, we reconnected with residents to review and discuss 2 preliminary park design concepts, both shaped by what we heard during that first round of input. Both engagement periods included a public open house event hosted at the Elmville Community Center, along with online surveys to reach a broader audience to help collect input. Next slide. Oh, next slide. Yeah. There were common themes and key findings across both rounds of engagement and can be summarized as shade and seating are needed, more opportunities are needed for all ages, natural features are important, improvements are needed to the sport court, looking for better pathway connections throughout the park. Some neighboring residents have stormwater ponding concerns, and there's strong support for the washroom and changing facilities. Next slide. In response to the outcomes and major themes of the first engagement, 2 preliminary concepts were developed in preparation for the second. Through both layout and amenities, the 2 concepts were intentionally designed to contrast with one another to gather meaningful feedback. Next slide. And now we'll start to look at the design plan. Next slide. The final design for Homer Barrett Park is really about bringing people together and creating a vibrant, welcoming community space that celebrates nature while improving how the park functions day to day. It builds on what residents already love, the splash pad, the playground, and the toboggan hill, and with a new sport court, and enhances those areas with more shade, seating, and gathering spaces. One of the biggest improvements is the new amenity building, which includes washrooms, change rooms, and a shaded seating area. This addition will make the park more comfortable for families and encourage people to stay longer. We've also improved accessibility and circulation throughout the park. Paved pathways now connect all 4 entrances and key features, making it easier for everyone to move through the space. The parking lot and driveway have been formalized with curbs and asphalt for better safety and clearer traffic flow. For those looking for a quieter experience, a secondary trail winds through the park's naturalized meadows and trees. Along this trail, rest spots invite visitors to pause, relax, and enjoy the scenery. The design also expands play opportunities for children. Beyond the existing playground, we've introduced a nature play circuit made up of logs, stumps, and stones that encourage climbing, balancing, and imaginative play. There's also a dedicated toddler play area designed specifically for younger children. The nature play elements include features like nurse logs, pollinator planting, and natural materials that support biodiversity and create small habitats for insects and birds, adding both beauty and educational value to the park. Overall, the final design strikes a balance between built features and natural elements. The pathways and gathering spaces are surrounded by meadows, trees, and open lawn areas, creating a park that feels fluid, inviting, and connected to nature. A place where people can gather, explore, and truly enjoy their community. Next slide, please. A proposed amenity building has been designed to fit seamlessly into the overall vision for Homer Barrett Park. Early in the process, it became clear that one of the community's biggest requests, more shade, could be met by combining a shade structure with the new washroom facility. The design features slatted wood trellis that extends over the washroom building. This trellis is practical, not only providing welcoming shade for seating, but it also helps soften the look of the building, blending it naturally into the landscape. Inside, the building includes 2 AODA compliant washrooms and a mechanical room, with entrances thoughtfully positioned for easy access and visibility. On the outside, there are 2 change rooms, giving families a convenient place to get ready for the splash pad or ice rink. Next slide. As part of the design process, WT Infrastructure Solutions was brought on to develop a stormwater management plan that meets township and MECP requirements. The report confirms that the design can manage runoff for storms up to a 100-year event. By regrading and slightly expanding the existing swale along the southwest edge, We can improve drainage, helping to address ponding concerns raised by neighboring residents and provide the required storage volume. If needed, an oil and grit separator could also be added to provide an enhanced level of water quality protection, though the existing vegetation and ditching already offer a strong level of natural treatment. Next slide. When looking at cost, the total is estimated to be 2.9 million. As you would have seen in the design plan document, full cost estimate breakdowns have been provided, but to make mention of the larger pieces, the overall site works is estimated to be approximately 1.96 million, with an additional 900,000 for the amenity building, including the washrooms, change rooms, and shade structure. Next slide. The implementation of the plan can be phased. A 3-stage phasing approach is proposed. Phasing does come with redundant costs, but the advantage is that it allows for costs to be spread out over time. The approach prioritizes the implementation of key central amenities in the first phase, followed by the introduction of expansive naturalized areas and tree planting in the second phase to minimize maintenance needs and enhance connectivity through the park. And the final phase focuses on expanding play opportunities within the park. Next slide, please. Looking ahead as the design plan project concludes, the next steps would entail detailed design development, budget confirmation, with construction beginning when funding is secured. Next slide. Thank you for your time this evening, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I will turn to council for a mover and seconder to have it on the floor before we move to questions. I have Councillor Garwood, seconder, Councillor Moore, that the presentation from Shift Landscape Design be received, and I will turn to members of council for any comments or questions. Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you, first I wanted to provide a thank you to Director Culver, Manager Dean, and the folks from Shift Landscape Design. This has been a long process, not long, but it's been a relatively long process, one that has incorporated significant feedback from the public, which is so important. The first open house, I understand, was very well attended. It was really nice to see really the community hall full of people, which was great. And the secondary piece to that is the amount of feedback that was provided as well during the survey period was significant understanding. I know last week, I think this council had a chuckle that I think we had 15 participants on a budget survey, and I think we had about 10 times that on this one. So it was really nice to see. We know that this project really stemmed from the need to have a washroom facility at the splash pad. Understanding it is the only splash pad in our municipality. I'm a believer there probably should have been a splash pad there when we built the splash pad, but understanding the funding wasn't available back in 2018. But now we have an opportunity to correct that. This is something that I have heard from day one that it is a priority for not only Ward 1 and the Elmvale community, but we know residents from everywhere in Springwater and beyond are coming in to the Homer Barrett Park because of the splash pads. So to have those amenities, it also supports neighboring residents. That's something that I've had significant conversations regarding, is finding that appropriate balance between creating this beautiful park for our community's use while also respecting the fact that it abuts against many homes on Shaw Street specifically. And I think something that really needs to be highlighted as well that has also come to this table, and I know the consultants quickly mentioned it, but is the stormwater management piece. Again, there has been ongoing concerns around pooling water in that park for many years, well before this term. And our staff have done a really great job at trying to mitigate some of those concerns, but this is that next step. You'll also recall me advocating some time ago around privacy and shade structures as well in the park. This specifically focuses on a lot of those concerns as well. Again, I also think some of the positives that we see from the design, not only the privacy piece and the tree coverage, but the enhanced parking. There's been concerns in that parking lot with donuts and whatnot into the late evening. So having appropriate curbs and delineators will hopefully resolve some of those concerns. And understanding that, yes, this is an investment into this park. This is really the first of its kind in Springwater to follow this process. And I commend Director Culver for the efforts here, because I think for many years, the approach has been taken of something comes along, it's a great project, let's just do it and place it somewhere. Well, Homer Barrett Park has a lot of space and let's just add it. And we keep adding and we keep adding, but we're never thinking about that long-term strategic plan and future and vision of the space. And then we run into some challenges like not having washrooms beside a splash pad. So again, I think this allows us to build a roadmap. I know that's how Director Culver had brought it forward to this council as a bit of a framework for other parks, understanding this is not the only park in our municipality that might require some significant investment over the next decade or so. So I'm really excited about this project, and I'm eagerly happy to endorse it.
Councillor Fisher?
Yeah, thank you. Presentation was excellent. I wish some of our early on hub presentations were as as good as that. I found it to be very in depth. I think the architecture of the structure was very nice and well thought out. I think some of you probably know where I'm going with this, though. 2.9 million is a bit striking for it. When I sit back and look at it, I mean, even if you take into account the paving, the structure, new trees, and the water filtration, which I thought was actually, it's 2.9 seems like a lot of money to me for that. So I do have concerns with the pricing on the project. I don't see the value for $2.9 million would be my my apprehension with it. So.
Director Culver?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to help with a little bit of the apprehension in that this is a design plan that seeks to address and treat the entirety of the park over a long period of time. So the high level value you're seeing is reflective of a complete transformation of the entire park. What staff have placed in the budget is addressing the priority of the washroom building, which was undervalued at the beginning before we started this process, and we now have a better idea not only of what that value should be, which is what's identified in the budget, but also we can feel comfortable about where it should be, what it should contain. We have answers to questions that would have been hard for staff to provide prior to this exercise. So I do understand it's a big number. Community parks precedents currently are in that $2.5 to $3 million range for community level parks in their entirety, but that's not staff's intention to bring forward that all at once. It'll be a thoughtful process over a period of time, but it provides guidance for what we'll talk to you about in future budgets.
Follow on?
Just through you to Director Culver, you know, if I'm looking at a $2.9 million expenditure over time, and maybe we saw it in the presentation, over what period of time would be sort of amortizing that over to see that? And also too, for the washroom portion of it, how much, because I think that's what we set out on originally, how much would the washroom portion be?
Director Culver?
Thank you, Worship. So the budget number for 2026 is 500,000, give or take, based on a kind of a high level estimate for the washroom project. We definitely have to tender the document, put together a proper process for procurement, but that's the number that we've bookmarked for the washroom structure, including the canopy, seating area, and change rooms.
Director Culver?
Sorry, thank you. On the amortization question, I don't think amortization is the phrase I would use. Phasing is the phrase we would use. So each year that a priority is identified in the park, we now have the basis to come back to council and say, this is the next step. Here is the high level costing. Do you want to proceed or not each year that one of those priorities becomes available or an opportunity. We also have the opportunity through the phasing process to look for grant funding other donor sources that might help us to support the transformation of the park again over the long period of time. The idea isn't that this is a 5-year project. The idea is that it has phases that we can use as we go about implementation over whatever time ultimately council's comfortable with.
I do have Deputy Cabral, Councillor Garwood, and Councillor Alexander.
I think you named me first, so I'll go first. Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I appreciate the presentation. I think for myself, seeing how it's being described as a long-term project for a all-encompassing park format down the road, I think the initial purpose was to facilitate washroom facilities and change rooms. So I guess staging or phasing is a good way to put it, but that would be my personal priority would be the functionality to make that park work for the people who are using the splash pad with the washroom and change room. Those other items I think can come down the road. One comment I would like to make in respect of the shading piece there, great idea. However, if we're going to be looking at financing a shade structure, I really don't see, if the idea is to provide the folks who go to the park with a shade area, maybe with picnic table underneath it, that kind of thing, then that's what we should be doing. So I'm kind of hoping that the building itself and that footprint is not going to be actually underneath the shade structure, because it kind of seems that we're providing shade to the building. If we're going to be spending the money, we should be providing the shade structure specifically to the residents to be using the park. So those are the only couple of comments I have, but certainly I'd like to see the washroom facility and change room facility. That's the priority for me for the functionality piece. So everything else could come down the road, I would think, at different budget asks each year. Thank you.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And yes, regarding this year's request specifically, so included in the 2026 budget, as Director Culver noted, there is $511,921 that has been included in the draft 2026 Mayor's proposed budget plan to facilitate the completion of the restroom and change room and seating area in the park. So that would be priority number one for 2026, to ensure that that project that has been a capital project on our books now for, I think, the entirety of this term, as something that requires that investment. Understanding that, yes, the number is significant, but it is also not the expectation that this is coming all at once. The purpose of this design plan, I know initially when it was brought up, we talked about it as a master plan for the park, and we're calling it a design plan now, but was to do exactly this, was to create a roadmap for the future, to show the community that there is a multiple year plan. That is what was provided in the feedback through the surveys. And I think we also need to speak about expectation as well. Yes, the expectation continues to grow. Yes, in our feedback, I think the consultants have done a great job as to gathering. I've seen various different design options that have come to us, but this is early, right? This is very early. This might not be the final design. This might not be the final dollar number. Maybe things are removed or added or adjusted, but it allows us a starting point. But what it really does is it allows that washroom project to get going. Through the mayor to Director Culver or Manager Dean, can you speak to how development charges might come to play in this project, or if they do at all?
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe the project is intended to be funded by DCs.
Councillor Alexander?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a couple comments. Number one, like everyone else here, I think the washroom change room piece is very much the most important. I said it as well. I was very surprised that we built a splash pad without a change room. So they are definitely long overdue. In terms of the overall plan, I think it's a great plan. Specifically, I do like the incorporation of the paved pathways. I think that allows seniors, people with mobility issues to get out and be outside and travel around in a safe spot, you know. Not all our sidewalks are that friendly sometimes for mobility issues. Again, obviously, I think there's lots of time to look at what exactly we do. My concern would be, again, 2.9 million, it's a big number. We get that, we can phase it in. That's also a very good thing. But if this is kind of the roadmap for our parks as we move forward, that's a lot of money that we're continually spending, if you will, right? And one would hope that we're not having to go through all phases of Homer Barrett to get to the Utopia without then, before we go and look at some of the other parks as well. So a lot to think about it. Great presentation. Happy where we're here, where we're at. But yeah, I think there's a lot more time to sift through, but thank you very much.
Director Culver?
Thanks, Mayor. And just to sort of again alleviate any kind of concerns about the idea that that these design plans and this process becomes promises. Again, when I presented last summer, it was about the idea that it can actually get more expensive when you start doing ad hoc approaches. You start dropping in facilities based on identified needs in the moment without a plan. So this planned approach is really about providing guidance for our community level of parks. It's not every park. It's the parks that have provided destination service within our community. So where the whole community actually would partake of whatever that park provides. Just want to make sure we have a plan and approach because it is a large investment. They're designed to be an attraction for a majority of our park users. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Councillor Fisher?
Just a quick question through you to Director Culver. When can we expect to break ground? And maybe it says it in there. I apologize if I skipped over it. When can we expect to break ground and see completion on the washroom?
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor. With the approval of budget, we would move into the detailed design and start work as soon as possible. Again, I always struggle with creating, deadlines before we've had, appropriate conversations with a vendor, and developed a, construction timeline, but we'll do our best to make it happen quickly. We understand there's a high demand and that's what's kind of been pushing us along all the way.
Follow on?
Maybe this is pressuring you for an answer, but would we break ground this summer? Is that feasible? I just see it as a bit of a seasonal thing. So if it's not done this summer, it would be next summer, right? So we're looking at 2 years at that point. So just wondering if that's a feasible thing.
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor. So I can offer that our intention would be to break ground this year. Completion, I honestly couldn't guarantee this year. We also want to be very conscious of the use of the park, and if we're disrupting it for construction purposes and taking it offline, that would have to be something we have to consider as well, because whether there's a washroom or not, it's a very high demand facility. So that would play into when completion happens on the washroom, but certainly, our objective is to break ground this year and know by the time we get into construction when we should expect completion and how that's going to happen.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And just to add to that understanding, I know the questions might flow. There is no plan for there to be a disruption where the splash pad would not have, where the community wouldn't have access to the splash pad. I guess I just want to confirm that. I know we've spoken about that, but just so we get ahead of those questions, I think that might be useful.
Director Culver?
Yeah, again, through you, Mayor, the goal is to not disrupt. We understand the priorities, and certainly that's, the goal of our department service is to make sure that our facilities are available. It does have water and wastewater we have to deal with, so I don't know how that impacts, construction until we got to get into it. But once we're into conversations with a contractor, we'll be able to talk about timing that hopefully works around public access and leaves the park available for people to use in those critical times of need.
Not seeing anything further at this time. Thank you very much for the presentation this evening. I have it moved and seconded that the presentation from Shift Landscape Design be received. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you. We will now move on to question period, and CAO Ainsworth, have there been any submissions received?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There have been no submissions received for this evening.
And are there any members of the public who wish to ask questions this evening? Not seeing any, we will move on to our minutes. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the council minutes, please? Councillor Alexander and Deputy Cabral, that the minutes of council listed here and be approved as presented. One is the minutes of the regular meeting of council of November 5th, 2025. Two is the special meeting of council November 5th, 2025. Three is the minutes of the special meeting of council closed session November 5th, 2025. Four is the minutes of special meeting of council November 10th, 2025. And five is the special meeting of council 2026-27 budget of November 12th, 2025. Any comments or questions on any of these? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. Our boards and committees, please. Mover and seconder, Councillor Moore, Councillor Fisher. That the minutes of the boards and committees and other organizations listed here and be received for information. And the first is the minutes of the Severn Sound Environmental Association special board meeting of July 2nd, 2025, and minutes of the Severn Sound Environmental Association 2025 second quarter board meeting of July 24th, 2025. Any comments or questions on these? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. And we will now move on to item 9.2, which is our budget deliberation, and I will call on CA Ainsworth to review the amendment process.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. As advised at last week's budget meeting, on this evening's agenda is a placeholder for any council proposed amendments to the operating or capital budget. I can confirm that there were no motions submitted ahead of the meeting. However, members of council may propose motions this evening. There were additions of two memos provided on the agenda and to council earlier this afternoon, which provided some context to some questions that were received at the last meeting, as well as some clarification regarding an RPF piece of the budget. So staff is available for any questions you may have, and proposal of any amendments to the operating budget first and then the capital budget.
So at this time, council, if there's any, we'll move on to the amendments for the operating budget. So if there's any proposed amendments for the operating budget. Any questions or any? Not seeing any. Moving then to amendments for the capital budget. Councillor Fisher.
There, I actually have two, but I'd like to propose finishing off the Idlewood paving. It was about, I think, 2 budgets ago we approved Idlewood. I was actually under the impression that it would be all of Idlewood, but they skipped the last portion of it. So I'd like to have it finished. So that would be the first one. I'll deal with them separately.
And it, I'll get a second. Or is there a cost associated?
Yes, yeah. Actually, we reached out, and I believe it was 150,000.
So what I'll do is look at a seconder for the
Yeah.
amendment and read what CA Ainsworth here has. A seconder for the amendment. Councillor Moore. And it says that the paving of Idlewood from Frid Boulevard to Navita be included in the 2026 capital budget at an estimated amount of $125,000. Question, Councillor Moore?
Through Mayor Coughlin to Councillor Fisher, was this not already then in a budget approved, or is this in addition to what the work was done and now it's extended?
So,
Councillor Fisher.
yes, thank you. So I was under the understanding that all of, this is about 2 budgets ago, all of Idlewood would be done. Unfortunately, they didn't finish the last portion of it. I don't know if that was, I don't know why, but people have asked on Idlewood that it be finished. So it's uniform, right? So, yeah. So apparently that portion of Idlewood, although it's uniform, was slated to be done, but the rest of it, they didn't finish. So, yeah. Why, I do not know, because in my estimation, it's the same quality of road and same degradation. So,
Follow on?
So just so I'm clear, is it on the list then? Is it in need of repair?
Councillor Fisher?
yeah. So, yes and no. So it's not on the list. However, Idlewood 2 budgets ago was on the list because it was in need of repair. So that stretch of Idlewood was in the same condition as the one that was in need of repair. but it wasn't completed. So I was under the impression it would be, and they were coming back to do it, but under further investigation, it wasn't. So.
Um, prior to this, I'm going to make a suggestion or a request, understanding that our director, our public works team is not with us this evening, and we do have an opportunity at our next meeting of council. There's a lot of questions that I might have, but I don't have anybody to direct them to at this time as to where it fell in the road needs study, what the funding source and application would be, what the implication would be to our overall budget. So if I can ask that we either just mark this and have Director Harvey here, he'll have this ahead of time. The answers will be provided for council's consideration.
Yeah, I can certainly wait. I've had plenty of questions that surround it, frankly. So I would like them answered as well. So.
Deputy Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I guess this would be a question for Director Bedard with respect to what was already done, whether or not any DCs applied to that. And if they did, I would suspect that some DCs would apply to the completion of that particular road. Just a thought if that might be investigated prior to the next meeting in relationship to Councillor Fisher's proposal.
Director Bedard is nodding his head, and we can have that incorporated into the answers for next week. And you said you had a second?
Yes, I do. The repaving of the Midhurst Hall parking lot, I'd like to see that done. As it stands right now, I don't know if anyone's been there as of late, but the potholes, well, you could park a small car inside of it. So it's been aging rather badly. So we're looking to have that redone as well.
Thank you. And I would make the same request so that staff are prepared with our facility assessment to make sure that these projects and initiatives fall in line with that. So Director Culver, I don't know if you have any preliminary comment on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Councillor Fisher did reach out with the request, so we did be a little bit armed. We have an upset limit of about $50,000 for that parking lot repaving. It's an upset limit because we do need to kind of do a proper estimate. But if council wanted to approve it, the staff are in favor and supportive of the project.
Thank you for that. So we have it moved by Councillor Fisher and looking for a seconder for the Midhurst Community Center parking lot to be included for the 2026 capital budget. The estimated value of 50,000. So for a seconder for that, Councillor Moore. I guess my only comments or question would be, would this then postpone any other identified projects within our capital plan? Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor. So the way that we've navigated asphalt projects is we combine with public work efforts for sort of their annual asphalt program. So it doesn't really add an additional burden or project burden, so it wouldn't replace another project in our current 2026 outlook.
Thank you for that. Councillor Fisher?
For quite a few years now, the hall boards wanted it done. I have urged them to wait. You know, we wanted to keep the budgets lower the last few years, but I will say it is becoming a safety concern, not just for cars. You know, it could damage vehicles, but even for people using it. There are a lot of elderly people who do use it. Actually, Director Culver even mentioned another one tonight as you walk into the entrance. So it is something that has been postponed, and I think we should move ahead with it, you know.
Any additional comments or questions on this amendment? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that is carried. Are there any additional capital budget amendment? Not seeing any. I would, as council, as the next meeting cycle is the last opportunity for any comments or amendments to be addressed through this process. I would definitely encourage us to make sure that we have the questions ahead of time. I believe you asked for them up till about noon, but just so that we have all the information as our next session would be our last opportunity to have information provided to us. At this time, we'll move on to correspondence, and I have this moved by Deputy Cabral and seconded by Councillor Garwood. Typically the mover, but understanding your remote, Deputy Cabral, would you like me to read it? That was a head nod.
Yes.
So thank you. So moved by Deputy Mayor Cabral and seconded by Councillor Garwood that council received the correspondence and resolution from Clearview Township dated September 23rd, 2025 regarding opposition to the proposed Department of National Defense Arctic Over the Horizon radar received site on agricultural land. One, that the Township of Springwater affirms its support for Clearview Township's position opposing the permanent conversion of prime food producing agricultural land. And that two, the council recognizes the importance of national defense and supports Canada's need to modernize capabilities while urging the Department of National Defense to prioritize alternative siting options that avoid productive farmland. And that three, that council directs staff to send a letter to the Honorable David J. McGuinty, Minister of National Defense, with copies to the Honorable Health McDonald, Minister of Agriculture and Agricultural Food, the Honorable Julie Dusbin, I should have researched all these names before I was saying it, Minister of Environment and Climate Change, the Minister of Canadian Federation of Agriculture, Senator Rob Black, Chair of the Standing Senate Committee of Agricultural and Forestry, local MP and MPPs, the Nottawasaga Conservation Authority, Clearview Township Council, Mr. Drew Celesta, President of Ontario Federation of Agriculture, Dave Ritchie, Simcoe County Federation of Agriculture, and other relevant municipal councils within Simcoe County. And I will now turn to Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood following.
Just quickly, this is actually, it's become a very newsworthy story. CBC is also carrying it, but what it boils down to is the need to, I guess, balance the Department of National Defense's requirement for modernization and the ability of Clearview Township farmers, who Clearview is predominantly an agricultural municipality, and it's really going to impact them in a negative way to take 4,000 plus acres of prime agricultural land that is in production, generational farmers there out of production. So it's really just to try and have the Department of National Defense and the minister responsible for same exhaust all the other potential options that they may have to locate this over-the-horizon radar in order to safeguard agricultural farmland. And I know in the north end, maybe not so much in the south end of Springwater Township, but our own residents are quite vocal about this now too. And I have seen a number of, signs going up that are specific to that particular radar installation and what's been going on. The Department of National Defense has already purchased, I believe, 700 acres, and letters have gone out to a number of other farmers who are now in limbo as to where they should be going. Should they invest more in their operations or step back? Are they going to have to sell? So there's a lot of uncertainty there, and I think it bodes well for Springwater Township, as a member of Simcoe County and a neighbor actually to Clearview, to step up to the plate and offer our support. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to see this go forward. And just so happened that Councillor Garwood wanted to also present it. So I thank him for sharing that, and I will leave it at that. And if Councillor Garwood would like to speak to it further, that'd be great.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And yes, thank you to the Deputy Mayor for bringing this forward together. I think it's important. I think the Deputy Mayor hit on the many points there. We should support our neighbors in Clearview, and within the letter, the draft correspondence, I think there's kind of three key sections there that I think are important so our residents understand what we're asking of the Department of National Defense and the federal government. So those 3 points are to recognize the value of agricultural lands under consideration and the serious local impacts that permanent conversion would cause to food security, farms, and businesses in the surrounding community. prioritize alternative siting options that avoid productive farmland, including assessments of non-agricultural crown lands, and to commit to a transparent, meaningful consultation with the affected municipalities, landowners, farmers, conservation authorities, and Indigenous communities before any irreversible steps are taken. So happy to answer any questions, but I'm hopeful Council's united in this support. Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? I guess I will just add that born and raised in Clearview Township, and the only path, well, not the only path, the path I take to my parents' house is the 9th concession where many of these farms are, and it is creating quite a stir in Clearview Township. I have reached out to Mayor Measures and as well our MP Dowdle to discuss this, who's advocating heavily for them. So happy tonight to be supporting our neighbors and their cause. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. We will now move on to our action reports, items 11.2 through 11.4. We will need to pull 11.2 to have the appointments made. So at this time, we will be moving mover and seconder for item 11.3 and 11.4. Councillor Fisher and Councillor Thompson, 11.3 being the update to the tax bill and collection policy, and 11.4, the 15 Bertram Industrial Parkway reduction in securities. Are there any comments or questions on these two? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. And we will now move back to the motion here, which is for the terms of reference and ad hoc, or sorry, committee member for the Professional Health Services Complex Ad Hoc Committee. A mover and seconder, Councillor Moore and Councillor Fisher, that the report from the Senior Planner Special Projects regarding the terms of reference and committee member recruitment, Professional Health Services Complex Ad Hoc Committee dated November 19th, 2025 be received, and that council hereby approve the terms of reference for the Professional Health Services Complex Ad Hoc Committee, and within bylaw affirming the terms of reference to be presented at the November 19th, 2025 regular meeting of council, and that staff be directed to proceed with the recruitment process for community representatives to sit on the committee, and that the following members of council be appointed to the committee. And at this time, I will turn back over to Councillor Moore.
Thank you very much. First, I'd just like to say thank you to Senior Planner Belcourt for all her hard work on this, and so excited for our new position, because if it wasn't for her, I feel like this still would be very slow to move along, but she really jumped on it and has been great. So just to confirm, Dr. Gabor will not be subject to public recruitment. So you okay? Oh, sorry, I thought you were wanting me to stop. So the committee would be two members of the public, sorry, but that Dr. Gabor would not be part of that public. Mayor would be ex officio, and wondering about the flexibility to bring in specialties like engineering, or if they had questions, if the committee had questions for architects, something like that. Is there an opportunity to just bring a member in from the community once in a while?
We'll turn to a deputy CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The committee could call upon various staff resources. In regard to any additional resources that we don't have on staff, if they are community volunteers, not a concern. If there is an expense as part of that, it would need to be brought forward to council for approval.
Okay, thank you. And second to that, would there be staff members on the committee? So for instance, Director Russell, of course, and or Senior Planner Belcourt.
CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Staff would act as resources to the committee. It would not be a member of the committee, so no voting rights. It would just be resources to the committee, yes.
But they would be participating in the meetings is what I'm looking forward. Okay, that's great. So I know previously too, Councillor Alexander had mentioned she'd like to be on the committee with myself. So if nobody opposes that.
I'm assuming there was interest from others, but I'm assuming we had a conversation and that's perfect. All right. So this would be that Councillor Moore and Councillor Alexander be appointed to the committee. Mover and I had Councillor Moore moving it and seconded by Councillor Alexander. Any other comments or questions on this, council? Councillor Garwood?
Just a quick comment, and I know we've spoken about this before, but this is a great step forward in this project. We know no matter, regardless of where this is placed, being in the southern part of the municipality, it's a benefit to every resident in our community, to the region really as a whole. So I think this is one of the most exciting projects I think that we have on our radar in this municipality, and it's one that this council and the next should champion and get across the finish line. So yes, thank you to staff and Senior Planner Belcourt, and I know I expressed interest as well, but Councillor Alexander and I had a conversation, so I support everything. Thank you.
Anything further? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that is approved. May I have a mover and seconder for the information reports, please? Councillor Garwood and Deputy Cabral, that the reports items listed here and be received for information. One is the Building Monthly Services Report of October 2025. 2, Bylaw Services Monthly Activity Report, October 2025. 3 is OP 2025-002 and ZB 2025-006. 13, 16, Highway 26, and Part W, Half Lot, Concession 11, Concession 5, Vespra, Part 151, R42429. Number 4 is the Q3 2025 Procurement Summary Report. 5 is the Corporate Credit Card Report for September of 2025. 6 is the October 2025 Check Register. And 7 is the Winter Operations Plan 2025-26. Are there any comments or questions on any of these information reports? Not seeing any. All those in favor, and that has carried. And at this time, I can turn if there's any updates from staff. Not seeing any this evening. Deputy Cabral, I guess we don't have enough. No. Municipal updates. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I will keep this brief. I had the opportunity last Thursday to attend the Ontario Water Leaders Summit with Julie Cayley from the SSCA. It was a lot of really good sessions, a lot of good speakers. One of the key things I did pull out of it, which I think is kind of a reoccurring theme we're starting to see, but I thought was great, is just the idea of these regional areas collaborating with all levels of government and industry. Essentially, it was great to hear speakers from both sides talk about the importance of development and environment working together for responsible growth. It was very well done, and thank the SSCA for allowing me to attend with them.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a few items I wanted to update the community on. First, I wanted to mention the incredible Remembrance Day ceremony. I know there were 2 across our municipality. Specifically, I just wanted to highlight the one that I attended. I know the mayor, Councillor Alexander, and I had the opportunity of attending the Elmvale ceremony. During that ceremony, as Mayor Coughlin noted at the top of our meeting this evening, our community experienced a devastating fire during that ceremony. So I wanted to specifically thank Chief Kirk and Deputy Chief French and the entire fire service, not just Station 5. I believe we had members of our fire service from all halls participating in that fire. The aerial was there as well and was utilized for one of the first times. So again, thank you to our fire service. And coming in a week, obviously, of thanks for our local firefighters with the Springwater Fire and Emergency Services Award ceremony this past Friday, which I know members of council also had the opportunity to attend. I also wanted to thank the Elmvale Legion. On November the 8th, CAO Forfar and I had the opportunity to attend the Remembrance Day dinner, which is an annual event, obviously to support our local veterans in the area. So that was a great opportunity for the CAO to get to meet some of the residents in Springwater, and we had a really nice evening supporting the Legion. A couple other things today, actually, later this afternoon, Councillor Alexander and I and the Elmvale District High School Donation Fund Committee had our first meeting of that committee, which was a great milestone. It's been something that we've been championing since really day one. Again, thank you to Director Culver and his team for pushing that forward. We had a great conversation today, and I'm hopeful that there's some positive news to come in regards to how we can continue to enhance the school and the community for joint community use, which is really exciting. And of course, I mentioned it earlier on, but one of Elmvale's biggest events of the year, which is tomorrow and Friday, the Elmvale Christmas Night Market. Last year, I don't think you could find a parking spot in Elmvale, and we think this year is going to be even bigger. So come on out, support local, get your Christmas shopping done, and it's sure to be a great 2 nights in Elmvale. Thank you.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. Two things. One, I just wanted to highlight the Remembrance Day at Springwater Park. I've attended for the last 4 years. It grows every year. Actually, Councillors Moore, Thompson, and I attended, and it's a great occasion. I think that remembering fallen soldiers is very important, and in future years, I would actually like to see more students come out, because I do notice that it's older people in the community coming out, and it would be nice to see younger people attend and learn from that. The other thing I wanted to mention, the OPP Services Board that both the Deputy Mayor and I sit on, there's been a lot of talk, particularly in the south end of crime, break-ins, and things of that nature. It has been escalating. The OPP Services Board, I really think it's hitting its stride. We as a community have a lot of input. It's actually been very good. And I brought up a few of these issues that we're having, and people in the community are starting to notice that there are increased patrols and increased police presence during the day. I think this is a direct result of communication with Huronia West OPP from our different municipalities. So I just want everyone to know that it is starting to have a positive effect. So I've been very positive about it.
Councillor Moore and then Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I just had a quick question for Councillor Garwood. When is the Christmas parade? When's the Santa Claus parade?
Councillor Garwood.
Absolutely. So the Santa Claus Parade is December the 7th, which is a Sunday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then preceding that, while we're on the topic of holiday events, I might as well mention one of the various ones that we have that same weekend on the 5th of December, which is a Friday evening, is Elmvale Sleigh Ride in the Village. And then the week prior to that, which will be next week at this point, is the 28th of November, which is the Elmvale Christmas tree lighting as well.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. I wait for you to keep me updated, so thank you very much.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a development update, just the latest information to our Midhurst residents about Findlay Mill Road. And please, CAO Forfar, correct me if I'm speaking wrong, that the barricades should be down this week, by the end of the week. That's the latest. I know our library will be thrilled to hear that, as well as the local businesses. It's been long overdue. I think that perhaps we should have a Findlay Mill Road parade once once these barricades are down. Also, Library News, Friends of the Library, which is a charitable organization that supports programming for our local library, has just completed their most successful online auction to date. They doubled what they made last year. They made over $6,000. Just a big thank you to this group, these volunteers, for the marvelous work they do in our community, and for the extra programming that allows them to do in our community. I also had an opportunity to attend the Springwater Park Remembrance Day ceremony in honor of our men and women in uniform and the Vesper boys, and just wanted to we have a new organizing committee there, and they're doing an outstanding job. Also, I was able to be with our frontline workers, the firefighters, at their awards banquet. It was a terrific event. They do such great work in our community, and It was an honor to be with them, to see the service awards and to support them, and want to thank them for their efforts.
As we do come into the holiday season, I do know that there was quite a few listed out in our direct mailer. But there are a lot of events that happen that are not township events within our own wards. So I'm curious then if there would be an opportunity, maybe members of council can submit to either Westlake Brown and we can have our staff put that out on our social channels. I know that there was a list of the big ones, but there's some tractor parades and some car parades and some other things that happen in other local communities, so that we just want to make sure we don't miss anything and that everybody knows that there's so much happening across here. So not seeing any further updates. This time we'll move on to our notice of motion, and we have a motion to which notice was given, and this is presented by Councillor Fisher, and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Moore, Councillor Fisher.
All right, that the staff be directed to consult with the Agricultural Advisory Committee regarding the fill and site alteration bylaw 2022-105 to make recommendations regarding potential changes to the bylaw in support of agribusinesses properties in the township. Essentially, the Agricultural Committee just wants to be advised and frankly to learn from staff as to any alterations or changes that may come. Yeah, so we as the Agricultural Committee just want to be advised. That's essentially the motion.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you to Councillor Fisher. Would the goal here be for staff to provide a report back, like an information report to council, or is it just advising and discussion and conversation?
Thank you for the question. Yeah. Thank you for the question. A bit of both, actually. I think the Agricultural Advisory Committee wants to be abreast of what's going on, but also to advise and have it come back to council so we can have our input as well. So a bit more of a collaborative approach.
Following?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, Councillor Fisher. Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to the Deputy CAO, do we need to make an amendment then to request a report back, understanding that it just speaks to consult with?
Deputy CAO?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. It says to make recommendations regarding potential changes. Based on that, it would be a report back to council.
Not seeing anything further. All those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on now to, I have, yes, another motion by Councillor Garwood looking for a seconder, and this is for technology at Our Lady of Lourdes. Councillor Alexander, and I will turn to Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Whereas Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School in Elmvale is currently facing a significant challenge as a number of its computers are nearing expiration, and whereas to date the school has successfully purchased 31 new devices and plans to acquire an additional 10. However, there remains the need to fundraise for 66 more Chromebooks this year and an additional 108 by 2027 at an estimated cost of $350 per device for a total funding requirement of approximately $60,900. And whereas the Simcoe Muskoka District Catholic School Board no longer provides funding for computer replacements, leaving schools responsible to cover these costs independently. And whereas Our Lady of Lourdes has undertaken numerous fundraising initiatives and is actively pursuing grant opportunities to support this technology renewal effort, and be it therefore resolved that council approve a donation of $1,000 to the Our Lady of Lourdes Parent Council to assist with the purchase of new computers for students, and the funds be drawn from the Ward 1 discretionary fund. So again, this is one of those requests. Again, I'm very privileged to have 3 incredible schools in my ward. So far this term, I've been able, through discretionary requests, been able to support the other 2 schools. I've been very clear at this table that many of the things that we have supported through these requests, in my perspective, should be funded by the school board. And I think many of us at this table have shared that same reasoning, understanding that should be and are 2 different things. Unfortunately, they're not. And then this is put on the community to absorb the cost. Regardless, the Parent Council brought forth this request, understanding that the discretionary funds are for these purposes to support our community. I was happy to bring the request forward and support the Parent Council.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor? And that has carried. Councillor, are there any additional notices of motion this evening? Any items for future consideration? Not seeing any. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the bylaws, please? Counselor Thompson and Counselor Moore, that bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk, 5,412 ZB 2025-007, 2185 County Road 9, Lanecrest Farms Limited, and 2025-097 to establish terms of reference for the Professional Health Services Complex Ad Hoc Committee. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? That has carried. A mover and seconder for the confirmation bylaw, please. I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood that bylaw 2025-098 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on November 19th, 2025 listed here and be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? That has carried. And adjournment, please. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Fisher, that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:52. Not used to that. To meet again in regular meeting on December 3rd, 2025 at 6:30 PM. All those in favor? And that has carried.